Hey, everybody. Super excited to chat today about a film that I just saw, Vertical Freedom, highlighting the lives of communications infrastructure workers, the unsung heroes in telecom. And here to discuss with me today, Todd Schlowecki, NATE, or National Association of Tower Erectors, CEO and President. Todd, how are you?
I'm doing great, Evan. Thank you for having me today.
Well, this is a good time to chat. It's Friday. We're in a good mood, and this movie, Vertical Freedom, was very uplifting. And with all the negativity out there today, it's nice to be inspired. So, before we dive into that, maybe introduce yourself. And who is Nate for those who might not be aware?
Yeah, my name is Todd Schleckaway. I am the president and CEO of NATE, the Communications Infrastructure Contractors Association. So we have, Evan, about 1,100 member companies. We have members in all 50 states, and then we have a segment of our membership that are in 9 other foreign countries. So our primary category of members and what we were founded for in 1995 are the communications contractor companies that of course are so on prominently displayed in Vertical Freedom, the movie. But we have other categories of membership. We have the carriers and vertical real estate tower owner companies. We have training companies, engineering firms. We have manufacturers, distributors. So we kind of encompass the entire telecom ecosystem with our membership and have a really good story to tell.
You do indeed, and it is an amazing story. I've been to one of your national events. Just good people. The focus on safety and education and the goodwill is so evident in the community. And it's a little bit of an insider's organization. The mass market public doesn't really know about it, but I think this movie Vertical Freedom is going or has changed that. So let's um, let's tee it up here and maybe explain what we're watching. We watched together. What is Vertical Freedom, the movie?
Yeah, so Nate invested heavily, Evan, into a feature-length documentary film that's about an hour and 34 minutes long, um, titled Vertical Freedom. And what Vertical Freedom does is follows 6 communications infrastructure technicians with different backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds, different work backgrounds, different parts of the country geographically. And so it follows them around as they traverse the country in their roles. And many of them, of course, working several thousand feet in the air in some cases. And it tells the story of what I like to say is Vertical Freedom. The title, Evan, is kind of a play on, number one, the elevated work that they do, obviously, vertically. Number two, though, Vertical Freedom is also a play on the upward progression and career opportunities and the freedom that this industry has provided them and their families. There's several really compelling kind of rags to riches, overcoming adversity storylines
Mm.
weaved into this. And so Vertical Freedom is not only a play on the elevated work that happens every day, but also the freedom and that these jobs are careers. There's career pathways vertically, and so this industry, and the movie documents it very well, has really changed lives. I mean, these are good, high-paying jobs, and there's opportunities to advance quickly. And the 6 technicians that are featured certainly have really compelling personal testimonies to merit that and prove that out.
Well, let's watch the trailer together.
Yeah.
And then we'll dive a little deeper into the story and some of the backstory on the production, the creation, and the work that these amazing folks are doing. So we'll watch this together here.
I'd say 90% of people don't like heights, don't like getting on a ladder, can't get on a roof of a house. And I'm the guy raising my hand. Can I go next?
The climb, man, when you get up there, you get a heavenly moment.
I embrace the adventure, but with the height comes a lot more challenges because a lot can really go wrong if you're not paying attention.
It's not I climb this tower, we're climbing this tower.
Yeah, I gotta trust every one of these guys with my life, just like they have to do with theirs.
Don't ever get comfortable. You have to be together, you know, like everyone has to be on point.
One slip, one trip, that's it. That's all she wrote.
If it weren't even a little bit hazardous, there wouldn't be anything fun about it.
To some people we're crazy, and to some people we're brave. You know, you could either go both ways. It's definitely not for everybody, but you're gonna find out real quick if it is.
I'm not in an office, in a cubicle, behind a computer screen. There's no way I could do that.
I don't want my kids to grow up like me without a dad. I want to be their hero. I want to be the person they look up to and say, that's my dad.
How you fall, but how do you push through the darkness and go back into light?
Without all that hardship, without all that heartache, without all the misery, without all that, I wouldn't be who I am today. Being a tower climber is a great part of my life.
It's brought me up in life, and I believe that you should always reach down and pick someone else up.
I think what we have in common is the tower we all climb.
How far is it going to take me? I'm excited to see. I can't wait.
If we don't have these towers up, there's no signal and there's no connection with each other. What I get to do is definitely beyond. I'm performing my job for the world.
Love it. The whole movie is like that. I mean, amazing stories, a dramatic footage. Really, you know, you feel your heart beating when you watch some of these scenes. How did this movie get made? What was the big idea behind it? How did this all come together?
Yeah, great question, Evan. And I get chills every time I watch the trailer. Nate wanted to do something big from the standpoint of number one, workforce development. We, like a lot of the construction trades that your listeners are familiar with, there is, you know, a workforce shortage in the telecom communications infrastructure ecosystem, especially when it comes to the frontline technicians. As you can imagine, as you can see in the film, working at heights is not for everybody, and there's some extensive travel involved. So those tend to be some barriers to entry. So we wanted to break through our industry bubble and reach a much more massive audience to tell the story of, hey, this is an opportunity for you where you can really thrive financially and make it a career. So we decided to do something outside the box, and that's let's invest heavily into a feature-length documentary movie. And so we had a relationship with a production company who has done some other work in our industry, who knows the industry, and that Storybuilt Media. And a unique story, Doug Lee, who's the director, Evan, of Vertical Freedom, is actually a certified tower climber. He has gone through the training. And so a lot of this footage, some of it, your listeners, you know, would be, and viewers of this program would be interested in knowing, obviously, that was captured by drone footage, but other footage was captured where Doug Lee was personally up on that tower with the technician, with his camera, and he's certified. So, but kudos to our board of directors, because as you can imagine, a feature-length documentary film was a massive investment, but we felt one worthy of telling our industry's story outside of our bubble. And what I mean by that is we're all great at going to conferences and kind of talking to an echo chamber of, you know, here's what we do, here's the workforce needs. But what better thing to do than get a movie or a film out to the masses to try to tell our story to a much more broader audience. And so that was really the genesis of how Vertical Freedom came about.
Oh, I love that. And tell us about the casting. How were those 6 communications workers selected for the documentary? Was there like a casting call for that, or they're really interesting people?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories to share, Evan, is we did have a casting call. And of course, the irony was it took place during COVID. So our initial plan was to have a casting call in person at our annual conference. Well, something called COVID came along, and we had to pivot. And so we did extensive 3-month process where we had Storybuilt Media led it, but Nate was involved. We had a casting call virtually. And so eventually we pared it down, and there was 6 individuals who kind of stood out more than anyone else. And we couldn't, the initial plan was to settle on 4 technicians. Well, we could not select these 6 so far, whether it be their personalities, the type of work they did, their adverse, their kind of challenges they faced leading to triumph. They had redemption stories. We just could not select the 6 that we settled on, and they just stood out that much. And we really did a good job because our industry and our workers are very diverse. They come from different backgrounds, and so we really, I don't think we could have done it again and selected as high quality of people with interesting stories and diverse backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds that we settled on. I don't think we could have done it again. If there, if there was a sequel, I don't think we could land on 6 like this. And so they really make the film.
Yeah, they're so interesting. I can't wait to have them on the show, which we will soon. And tell us about the tower erector community in general. I mean, what are some of the challenges the workforce faces, and what do they need for support from employers, from the government, or otherwise?
Yeah, it's a great question, Evan. It's a very satisfying job, a very demanding job. Nate was formed in 1995, in large part due to there was a void at the time in the marketplace, Evan, for safety and training resources, especially when it comes to work at heights in telecom or in broadcast. And so that's how we were formed as a trade association, and we've since evolved. But safety, fast forward to today, remains paramount, and that's a central theme in the movie Vertical Freedom. When you're working at heights, and all the cast went into that in detail in the film, there's so much that you have to navigate in addition to doing your job once you get to the spot on the tower that you're working from. And so safety is a challenge. Navigating the weather, that storyline is shown in the movie. Angelo hails from one of the technicians featured from the Des Moines, Iowa area, and there's footage of Angelo having to navigate the upper Midwest winters as he's climbing and ascending these towers and doing work. The Sean was from South Florida, so he talks about some of the environments he's had to work in different times throughout the year. So weather is definitely a challenge. And then the life on the road, the traveling, and that's chronicled in depth in this film, is what is life like on the road? These aren't jobs typically, Evan, where you're home every night. So you may go from city A to city B and then city D. You may be gone for a couple of weeks before you come back. And so you have to be willing to work on the road. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of adventure that goes on when these tower crews are traveling, and they're like family with each other because they're away from their families so much. And that storyline is also a key part of the film. And so, yeah, those would be some of the challenges that I would mention right off the bat.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And the film really highlights the extraordinary camaraderie and teamwork with these guys and gals. And, it's kind of a laptop jockey who's in my basement most of the time. I realized what I was missing. Tell us more about that. And within Nate, there's a lot of camaraderie and teamwork and teams and mentoring and learning too, right?
One thing I've really come to appreciate about our industry, and specifically, Evan, the contractor companies, most of these companies that are members of Nate we have some large publicly traded companies, but a lot of our members are the family-owned small businesses. And when I say small businesses, I mean these have less than 75 employees that are handed down by generation. We have 3rd or 4th generation companies handed down, father to son or father to daughter now. And it's really fun to tell their stories. And number two, we have access to at NATE a lot of volunteer, what I call sweat equity. These men and women are committed to our cause, and that's safety, that's quality, that's workforce development. So we get a lot of subject matter expertise that a lot of other organizations, I think, would have to pay for. We get just as a byproduct of volunteerism through our committees, and again, it took a village to produce a movie. Not only the financial investment, the collaboration with Storybuilt Media, the production company. I mean, we had a composer involved. We had an editor involved. I mean, we had drone footage involved. And then we had members reviewing it to make sure we didn't miss if there weren't any safety violations highlighted, that unbeknownst to us, we didn't want to release major documentary film, Evan, and then miss have an oversight over, God forbid, a safety violation in the movie. So there was a lot of hands involved in this, and a lot of eyeballs, and a lot of expertise was lended to the making of the film. And that's just a representation of the type of members we have. People willing to roll up their sleeves, very gritty people, hardworking people, pull up their bootstraps and go into work every day.
Yeah, so important. I think the movie, in my opinion, sort of as a professional, sheds light on the importance of the communications infrastructure industry as well. And of course, that's part of your mission, is to advocate for the industry and the members in Washington. And we're a bit gridlocked at the moment. It's been tough getting things done. It's been tough getting FCC stuff through. It's been tough getting more spectrum. I mean, all of the things that we need to get in place to make us thrive as an economy and society, put people to the work. What are your thoughts on that side of the movie and the work you do at NATE?
Yeah, great question, Evan. And one of the things I'm most proud of in my 11 and a half years I've worked with NATE is we're on the radar more than ever in Washington, D.C., whether it's Congress, the agencies that have jurisdiction over our issues, and that'd be DOL, OSHA, FCC, the Federal Aviation Administration, NTIA, Department of Commerce, FirstNet. We've really made inroads out there, but it's due to the stories captured in this movie where we can go into these offices, and we've never had a partisan issue in my tenure at NATE. And that's, we're the good guys, because we're advocating for workforce development, safety, more spectrum. And so it's really a good story to tell, and it's refreshing. We had a fly-in in Washington, D.C. with our members last May, Evan. And, it's really refreshing to be able to go in. And a lot of times the staff and members we meet with out there appreciate the fact that we're not in there, with a partisan cause. And there's enough of that, as you alluded to. And so it's really a good story. We've had opportunities the last few years to testify on congressional committees. One of the things that we're really having success with now is we are hosting members of Congress, Evan, of both parties at tower sites. So we pair them with our contractor members, and most of them are just tours of sites. They get to feel the equipment. There have been, though, a handful of FCC commissioners and members of Congress who actually want to climb, and so we let them go up, and it's kind of a show and tell type deal with the equipment, and let them go up a little bit on the tower. We have a trainer there; they're attached to a safety climb, but then say, okay, now imagine having 60 pounds worth of equipment around. Wow. So it really does. It's very tangible experience for the members of Congress. And of course, with all the broadband money coming, the BEAD program that's generational, it's a good backdrop for the members of Congress too right now, because it's a good, experience for them to be able to take photos with field workers right now and go back to their districts and say, hey, I was on a broadband site or a wireless site or a fixed wireless site. And so we've had a lot of success with that, and we'll continue to do it. But again, vertical freedom is kind of a gateway for us to be able to tell our story to a much bigger audience.
No, I love that. And as someone who doesn't like heights particularly, I'm going to have to live vicariously through vertical freedom. I'm afraid I won't be climbing any towers soon. Although I do look up at every tower and I wonder, okay, what kind of gear is there? And I'm always interested in what's happening on top of the tower. And this is a geopolitical issue as well, not to get us off track
Yeah.
here, but if you look at what's happening in China, I mean, they've deployed 10 times as much spectrum, probably 10x as many
Mhm.
5G base stations. We have a bit of catching up to do with our rivals outside the country.
We absolutely do, and that's why we're bullish on any time that the industry can acquire more spectrum. That those are just invisible radio waves until it gets
Mm.
deployed, right? And so the story we tell when we go to Capitol Hill, and we will be there again next week, Evan, with our legislative and regulatory council, is look, we need more spectrum. Our members are the ones that turn spectrum into connectivity. We enable that connectivity. It's not pixie dust that makes that happen, right? I mean, someone has to do it. But yeah, to your point, and you've done a great job covering the broader industry, through all your networks and social media platforms. We have a lot of catching up to do, and it's going to take all hands on deck from a regulatory perspective, a political perspective, and an industry perspective to meet those challenges.
Yeah, and so important. It's not just mobile now, it's telehealth, telemedicine, helping first responders. It's those rural towns and villages. Now when I go up to New Hampshire, up in the mountains, or down east in Maine on trips or travel or weekends, it's amazing where you can get a signal and a good 5G connection, including fixed wireless, which is now the way to deliver broadband, high speed
Mhm.
internet without cables and digging up for fiber. So this is kind of the future, not for all of us, including businesses and consumers alike. What's next with Nate? Is there going to be a Vertical Freedom 2? Can we have a sequel maybe to share with the fans?
Yeah, we've joked about that internally. It's been kind of nice to come up for air. We have a popular video series, Evan. I think you've covered those a little bit too, called Climber Connection.
Mm.
Those are more topical, shorter videos that are on important topics in the industry. And so we're filming volume 7 of Climber Connection right now. Those went on hiatus while we were filming Vertical Freedom. So we're focused on some of these Climber Connection videos again. But yeah, it's something that your viewers here, just so they're aware, they can rent or purchase Vertical Freedom on a lot of the video on demand internet platforms right now. So if you go to Amazon Prime, YouTube, Vimeo, iTunes, Google Play, Microsoft, those are some platforms where you can, if you want to go watch this, you can rent it or purchase it. It's very inexpensive, and I would encourage all your viewers to do that. The next step, Evan, we've actually sold the rights to the movie. We've sold
Mm.
Vertical Freedom to a global film distribution company. So they're the ones who helped us get it on the VOD internet platforms. But the next step, then, we want to see it land on one of the subscription-based streaming services so if you're, who knows where, but I think it fits in a Discovery Plus, for example. It's kind of that adventure cinema. So that is kind of the next step after the VOD window platform runway continues to go, and that it'll be on the VOD platforms for quite some time, but we'd like to see it land on a subscription-based service, and who knows, maybe on one of the in-flight entertainment services where people can watch it while they're on a flight. But it has quite a long shelf life, and it's been interesting for me, not being in the entertainment industry or the film industry. You'd know much more about this than me, Evan, but it's been interesting to kind of get a inside glimpse of how that all works. But our goal was to get this to the masses. We've held 12 private showings of the film, including the debut in Vegas when it first debuted. And now it's just, we want to crack through that bubble and get it to mainstream. And so as many outlets and forms as we can get it on, we're gonna try to do that.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on making the film and for the work you do, so valuable. And look forward to chats with the cast and the director and others in the film. Can't wait to dive in a little deeper. Well, thanks for your time here on a Friday, Todd.
Yeah, and thank you so much for your coverage of vertical freedom and of Nate, Evan, and I really appreciated our time today.
Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Stay safe, particularly if you're going up in a tower. Talk to Nate first, and have a great weekend.